Growing up, I was never really the confrontational type. I was definitely more of the let things simmer and boil under the surface while silently fantasizing about a revenge that often far outweighed the initial wrong type. Thankfully, I always had a forgiving spirit and could never really hold a grudge. It wasn't until 7th grade that I was forced into a confrontation that I couldn't back down from. This is the story of my first and only fight. So there we were, me and what I considered to be my closest friends at the time, all standing in a cold circle in an open field. My arch nemesis standing directly across from me, glaring, eyes bulging, nose flaring, fist clenching. "What's so funny, Tila?" she growled as she began to launch for me. I tried to step back quickly, dodging her, but I ended up tripping and wait. You know what? I feel like this epic tale would be better with some context than a little bit of backstory. Like, I just started the story and I can already hear the confused questions. Why were you guys standing in the cold circle in a random field? Why do you have an arch nemesis in 7th grade? What's so funny, Tila? Alright, settle down, you rapscallions. In order to do this story justice, we have to do a little time travel. The year was, let me see, how old am I? Add the 3, carry the 2, mumble, jumble. The year was 2003, maybe. In a small town called Kenosha, Wisconsin, where the population was, well, white. I mean, there were black people. I'm sure I knew all 5 of them, but they were there. Anyways, it was towards the end of 5th grade and we had gotten a new student. Her name was Stephanie. Now, I'm not one to brag, but I've always been a super nice person. Not super cool, not super popular, but just nice. So obviously me and Steph hit it off right away and became best friends overnight. We hung out all the time, before school, after school. It was great. And we were so stoked when we found out we were going to the same middle school in the fall. Now, the summer before 6th grade was life-changing for me. This was the year my mom put me in theater camp and I found a love for acting. So I pretty much spent the entire summer engulfed in the program. Fast forward to the fall, me and Steph hadn't hung out much over summer break, and when we started school, it was obvious why. Stephanie was now friends with the popular kids. Yeah, that's right. If you didn't know, the movie Mean Girls was based off of my life. I even got stuck with a lesbian rumor that never quite left. So anyways, Regina, I mean Stephanie, made it her life's mission to make my life a living hell. Luckily for me, we didn't really have any classes together, and most of her tormenting consisted of her talking shit behind my back. So I pretty much went on living my best life unaffected. That was until 7th grade. Now, up until this point, me and Stephanie had little to no interaction with each other. From time to time, I would hear about her antics through the grapevine, but for the most part, we pretty much ignored each other's existence. That wasn't until the universe decided I needed to be tested. Apparently, 6th grade had built too much confidence. I was starting to believe in myself. I realized I actually had talent. I learned how to actually do my hair. Did I mention I made it on the pom-pom squad? We were like second-rate cheerleaders. We were almost popular. So obviously the universe saw I was flying too close to the sun and decided to give me a reality check, aka home ec. Now don't get me wrong, I was hella psyched for home ec. It was like my top elective, besides drama class of course. Cooking? Hell yeah. Sewing? Been doing that shit since I was born. And we get to take a robot baby home? Sign me up. But after walking into class that first day and realizing we would be cooking pizza bagels with the devil herself, I must admit, a bitch was shook. Since I had no clue why this girl hated me, I had no clue if she still hated me. But from the burning sensation I felt on the back of my head from her glaring so hard, I pretty much gathered that she in fact still despised my existence. So you would think this was it, right? This was the moment we finally confront each other, exchange insults, and decide to take it to the bike rack after school. But no. 1, As I said before, I wasn't confrontational, so if she wasn't approaching me, I damn sure in hell was not approaching her. And two, our home ec class was split into two groups. Half the students would be in cooking and the other half would be in sewing. And halfway through the year, we would switch. So by some sheer stroke of luck, me and Stephanie got put into opposite groups. Now, life continued on hunky-dory for the most part. Sure, Stephanie would say snarky comments about me within ear distance, but she never said anything directly to my face. Well, that was until one day we crossed paths in the doorway of class. For the life of me, I can't remember what this girl said. All I do remember is that it sounded very rehearsed, had something to do with a hamburger squeaky toy, and it was an insult. Now, my response was something along the lines of, okay, whatever. Very unbothered. But I swear to Bruce Almighty that if she didn't hate me before, she definitely hated me now. I mean, not even a month later, we ended up throwing hands. Strangely enough, even though me and Stephanie were arch nemesis, we had the same friend group.
But Tila, how? I thought you said Stephanie was popular and you were a lesbian and that's why she dumped you.
Okay, ouch. That was personal information. You didn't have to throw it back in my face. Also, that lesbian thing was a completely different incident. That's a whole nother story for a whole nother video. Comment down below if you want to hear it. Now, the way the social class hierarchy worked at my school was that we had two main categories, popular and not popular. And then we had subcategories within those groups. So even though the popular kids intermingled, they were still pretty much divided into two major groups. The rich, preppy, daddy will probably buy my way into college, popular kids, and the cool, badass type of kid you look at and think, that's a future crackhead. And guess which group I was friends with?
Thank you for joining us today on A Match Made in Heaven with Mo Lovin. Can I get a big round of applause for our contestant, Montila Tequila? How you feeling today, Tila?
I'm doing great, Mo. I'm just finally ready to have some friends.
Well, today's your lucky day. We've got two amazing groups for you to choose from, and they're both popular.
Ooh, popular. I've never been that before.
Okay, well, let's get right into the questions.
Okay, contestant number 1. What do you like to do for fun? Well, Tila, most of us come from single-parent homes with little to no supervision. So we enjoy things like smoking cigarettes, skipping class, and dry humping behind the library after school. Oh, I love the library. What about you, contestant number 2?
Well, we like participating in sports and activities, throwing parties that only we're invited to, and shopping.
Contestant number 2. How are you able to afford things?
Oh, our families are loaded and pretty much give us whatever we want.
Well, can't relate.
Contestant number 1. How do you afford things? Easy. Shoplifting.
Reasonable.
And for my final question, contestant number 2. How do you feel about Black people?
You're Black?
Contestant number 1. Easy. We want to be them. I think I found my winner, Mo. It's contestant number 1. It's always been contestant number 1.
Congratulations, Tila. You've chosen the future crackheads.
Wait, what?
Thank you for joining us today on A Match Made in Heaven with Mo Lovin. I'll see you next time.
Yeah, I definitely didn't have the best judgment as a kid. I wasn't ever sure how I ended up friends with this particular group, but after years of deep ponderment, intense meditation, and medicinal herbal remedies, I think I finally found the answer. It was because I was black. Hear me out, hear me out. Now, like I said previously in the story, foreshadowing like all great storytellers do, Kenosha was white. So having a black friend was novelty, especially for these wannabe black white girls. You know, the type that thinks that talking slang, being poor, and wearing Air Force Ones and hooped earrings was synonymous with being black. Yeah. So since I was a non-threatening black girl and I was already friends with their current token black girl, it was easy to tolerate me. I guess. Just a theory. Anyways, because Stephanie was popular, she intermingled with this group from time to time. Now, I don't know if I was just lucky or just wasn't invited, probably both, but I was never around for these interminglings. Well, that wasn't until one day, that one faithful day that changed my life forever, that I'll never forget, ever. So I don't really remember the exact day of the fight, but I do remember that we almost made it to the end of the year without having any kind of confrontation. In fact, our beef had gotten so stale that Stephanie had to resort to picking on someone half her size. Since I can't really remember this girl's name, we will call her Casey. Now, Casey was in our grade. Quiet, a little of a tomboy, but she was also very petite, while me and Stephanie were on the taller end of the spectrum. Unlike me, Casey wasn't afraid of confrontation, and it bothered Stephanie that Casey wasn't afraid of her. She was a breast panini. So Stephanie would go out of her way to make Casey's life a living hell. Are we starting to see a pattern here? Anyways, on the day of the incident, it was actually Stephanie and Casey that were originally going to fight, but somehow I got roped into all their drama. Does Tila finally confront Stephanie? Does Stephanie take the L? Who will catch these hands? Find out all that and more next week on part 2 of My First School Fight.
Everybody wants to know. All I know is that I flow. You and I can't deny the matter of the fact. I'm making this hot track. Motherfuckers check this shit. What's the deal with the drum and stick?